Very good. Good evening, Toastmasters and viewers at home. This is Golden Speakers Toastmasters of Central Time Zone, North America, headquartered in Fairfield, Iowa. Tonight is our Tuesday evening, November 16 meeting. We have a theme tonight, the good life. The good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge, said Bertrand Russell. Carl Rogers of the USA said, the good life is a process, not a state of being. It is a direction, not a destination. We have a mission in this club, as do all Toastmasters clubs, to create a supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop verbal communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-development and personal growth. Let's hear it for the mission. Tonight we have a Toastmaster, me, and my first duty is to introduce the role players, one of whom is going to help me to keep the meeting on track and ending on time, and that would be the timer, Bob Fogel. Bob, would you please tell us what you're going to be doing?
Mr. President, good evening, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. I am looking, there it is. My role as a Toastmaster, or my role as the timer, excuse me, is to set times for various topics. Number one will be our table topics. It will be for the first minute of the table topics, it'll be 1 minute. And at a minute 30 seconds will be the yellow. And at 2 minutes will be the red. And you'll have 30 seconds to follow up. Our speech this evening is from 5 to 7 minutes. Or is it 6 to 8?
What does it say on the agenda?
5 to 7. At 5 minutes, I will show the green. At 6 minutes, I will show the yellow. And at 7 minutes, I will show the red. And you'll have 30 seconds to wrap up that speech. And then we will have
There will be evaluation.
Evaluators, excuse me. I have a different script this time. I have evaluators. Evaluators will be from 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes will be the green. 2.5 minutes yellow. 3 minutes will be the red.
Thank you, Bob. Now, as grammarian, would you just continue speaking, telling us about your role as grammarian?
The word today is conspicuous. And I was in the thing of conspicuous people are very noticeable. And our very noticeable speaker this evening will be Art, who had this thing. That's a conspicuous person. That is our word for today. Back to you, Art.
Thank you very much, Bob. I'm going to suggest that we get a pronunciation correction on that. The word is conspicuous.
Oh. Conspicuous.
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 Your definition of it was correct.
But his pronunciation was conspicuously incorrect.
Very correct.
Tonight we have an counter person of Dan Craig. Dan, would you please explain the counter's role?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. My role as counter is to keep track of filler words that may be used. Generally, instead of a filler word, we should just be coming to a pause. I listened for words like well, like, repeats, stringing together sentences with and or so, and I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. I am going to mention that we've had some experimentation with immediate feedback on filler words with the oi sign in our past couple of meetings. We decided that we're not going to do that every time. We're probably going to let Bob do it every time because he has so much fun with it. But some of us felt that that was a little too conspicuous for everyday use, so that we would go back to the reports at the end. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dan. I will be serving as general evaluator and joke master, so that will come along later in the meeting. Moving along, we'll go into the prepared speech. Rahul, I see that you've blanked your video. Are you ready to dive in? Okay.
Yes, Art. I've sent a introduction to you, and I've copied Alex for the objectives and detail and finer points of the evaluation. So in this project, I'll be giving a speech, and I'll be re-giving the same speech next week with the feedback that I'll be receiving, incorporating that feedback for the next week. So yeah, please go ahead.
Alex, would you please, Mr. Counter, please note that. Please explain the project that Rahul is doing and any things that he's asked you particularly to look for, if any.
Mr. President, good night, everyone. We have our speech today for Rahul, and is the project 2 of the visionary communication path, is the evaluation and feedback. So this project addresses the skills needed to give and receive feedback. You'll learn about giving, receiving, and applying feedback. The purpose of the project is comprised of 3 assignments, the delivery of 2 speeches, and an evaluation. The purpose of the project is to present a speech on a topic, receive a feedback, and apply the feedback to the second speech. The speech will be 5 to 7 minutes. Okay. Do I also have the introduction of Rahul? Do you want me to introduce him, or that's something that you would do, Art?
I was going to extemporize it, but if you have it written in front of you, please do introduce Rahul.
All right. I'll introduce our speaker of the night. Rahul Vats is a distinguished Toastmaster who has traveled far and wide in a Toastmaster organization. In his life, he has gone through some changes and challenges, which he believes has given him the purpose of his life. Rahul is presenting to us tonight his speech that is titled, But Why? So Rahul Vats and his speech, But Why?
Thank you, my fabulous evaluator, Alex, and the Toastmaster of the night, Art Atkinson. Good evening, friends. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. Tonight, I'm going to give a speech which I am working upon to build into a speech that I'd like to give at various contests and competitions. Purpose of my speech is to share my journey, receive feedback, implement that feedback so that I can implement that feedback and give it again next week. Often at times, you go through various situations, challenges, obstacles. That makes you wonder, what did you do in your life to deserve those hardships, those pains, those moments where everything was seemingly black dark, and lost. In my life, I have had two experiences where they happened in the same frame of time in 2013, 2014, where I was working with a company in California. I just moved from Fairfield, Iowa to work for that company. I started working there in the month of July, and in November, on November 4th, on November 3rd, I received the news that my brother died in a car accident in India. It wasn't a lot of time for which I'd worked for that company, so I would not have established a great deal of rapport and the support that I would have needed to ask for an extended leave. But having said that, it was a difficult and dark time. I really had to go and be with my family at the time when they really needed me. And when I informed my company about the situation, they asked me for a certain time, and then I received an email, not even face-to-face meeting, where they told me that if I decide to go to India, they would have to let me go. It was time when I had just gotten married. I was married for about a year and a few months at that time. It was the time when I was trying to build my career. I was trying to get out of a place that I really loved and, adjust to a big city lifestyle. And it was something that I wasn't expecting. Obviously, now that I think about it in retrospect, obviously that company had their reasons and they were probably fine too. But there were a lot of things in their offer letter, in their other things which I had not read about or which I had not paid very deep and great attention to, which put me at that spot. I asked myself the question at that time, but why? I asked God that question, but why? I asked the question to the company, but why? I didn't get an answer. I decided that regardless of whatever it is, I have to be with my family at that time. And I quit the company, packed my bags, left for India, probably for good, to be with my family. When I reached India and we went through various phases of, just being there for each other, supporting each other, helping each other with the loss that my family was facing, there were some other things which I realized, which made me question along the same line on what I had done when I lost my job, which was not that far into past, which was very recent. I came to notice that there were some charges on the internet bill that we were receiving from the internet service provider, which was not right, not ethical. They had called my mom, they had offered a free promotion, and they had made them sign into a contract or verbally consent to a contract where they said that there is this free trial promotion, you can use it, and then, let us know. They didn't tell about that if they didn't call back and cancel it, then they will be charging a hefty sum in order to keep that service going, regardless of whether we were using it or not. Similar kind of issue that I had faced at work. People often in their life forget to read some finer prints into various legal contracts, issues, various contracts, just to say, which are binding, and they didn't realize what they are signing up for. I questioned, but why? Why are there companies which are maybe not doing it in the most ethical of manners? How can they take away some money from gullible people, and let that be on their conscience that it's okay to have that, money? How can some companies, promise some individual a greater future and then let them go without thinking anything about their future, without paying attention to, what would impact, how would it impact those individuals, their life, and what would happen to them as a consequence of the actions that they are going to implement, which legally may be okay, but morally might not. I decided to build a company, and I'm working that company is the purpose of my life. It is to provide people with knowledge, right to information that they have right to at free of cost, without any cost, which explains to them various nitty-gritties and details about prospective contracts that they might be signing, that could affect their future in a very big manner. One of the key accomplishments that I had in my life at the time was helping save about 800,000 people a vast amount of sum that was owed to that internet service provider. There was news press that we went through. We provided various documentation as to how those companies were acquiring those contracts, and that company had to refund all of that money to all those 800,000 people that they owed, which was in order of millions US dollars. Having said that moment, the darkness, that challenge and obstacle in my life gave me the purpose of my life. So at times when you have to ask yourself the question, but why? Remember, it may be the purpose of your life. Thank you, Sir Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. Please allow 2 minutes on the clock for evaluation. Thank you, Bob. Alex, I'm going to guess that you would like to have a little more time, but please tell us if you're ready. We can go forward as the agenda says.
And I'm here listening. I just need to give my daughter some milk. So I'll be not on camera for just maybe a next 1 minute, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Art. I believe I can do the evaluation now.
You're ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll wait for Rahul to return.
Or if it's better, I can do after. If no, we can wait for him to finish.
Okay. let's switch gears and move on to table topics. Our table topics master, Dan Craig, will take the floor, and we'll come back to you, Alex, after table topics. Dan, please assume control.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Our theme tonight is the good life, and I've come up with 5 questions in that theme. All I need at this point is somebody to raise their hand and volunteer, and we'll be off to the races. There's Mr. Art Atkinson. I've got 1 through 5. Art, would you like to pick one?
2.
Number 2, think ahead 5 years and describe for us your picture of yourself living the good life. Think ahead 5 years and describe for us your picture of yourself living the good life.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. This is a delightful project to spend 2 minutes on. Looking ahead 5 years, the good life for me will mean that I live part of the year in Fairfield in this house with a focus on building out the vision of our backyard garden that we're started on this year. I will spend a month or 2 of the year with my granddaughters. I'm hoping that it is possible to lure them here, but if not, I will go to them in California. And I will spend some portion of the year in Scandinavia, visiting with our business associates there. That'll probably be the middle of summer when the light lasts. Most of the 24 hours a day are light. The sun only goes down about 11 p.m. and comes back up at 3 or 4 in the morning. And you can really enjoy a lot of living in days like that. I look forward to life being physically more active than I am now, with more ping pong and more bicycle riding and more physical skills like ballroom dancing. I'd like to learn Viennese waltz and tango at a much better level than I've known them so far, and recover the capacity to throw my partner around like we did in swing dance troupe. I'm all ready for the 5-year projection. I'm ready now. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Art. That sounds inspiring. You sort of make me feel like a slacker, but I'll try to get over that. Would somebody else like to give it a shot? I've got 4 more questions. Alex, I've got 1 or 3, 4, and 5.
I'll go with 1.
Number 1, are you already living the good life as you define it? What changes would you want? Are you already living the good life as you define it? what changes would you want?
Thanks, Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers at home. I would say that I am living a good life. I cannot complain. I did dream about this moment 3 years ago when I started my master's program in Ayurveda. And I felt in my heart that this was the path that I wanted to follow. I just didn't know how I would do that and how it would happen. So I kept working every year. I just kept studying and kept giving my best. And I felt in my heart that Fairfield would be the place where I could develop myself even further in this field of knowledge. So I decided to come to Fairfield, not knowing what the future had on hold for me. And here I am working with Ayurveda full time and continue to study and develop myself. So I am living my dream. However, my dream also includes some hot sunny days on the beach somewhere. So I think I still have to just keep on dreaming and keep on creating. I'm living a part of that good life, but I'm happy. I'm very happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Maybe a few trips back to Rio just to check on it.
There you go.
All right. We are cruising now, folks. Who volunteers next?
Oh, well, someone wants to time me.
Okay, Bob. Who can time Bob?
I'll time him.
Okay, Rahul. Have you got backgrounds or some kind of colors? You got backgrounds?
I'll change my background.
Okay, very good. Bob, I've got...
Bob, please pay attention to this matrix here.
Mhm.
It will change.
Okay.
Bob, I've got 3, 4, or 5.
We'll go number 4.
Number 4. I often envision the good life in mostly material terms and a good life in mostly spiritual terms. Do you feel there is any separation of the two, and why? I'll repeat. I often envision the good life in mostly material terms and a good life in mostly spiritual terms. Do you feel there is any separation of the two, and why?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you for the question, Mr. Table Topics Master. First, one must define if there is a difference between a spiritual and a financial thing. I believe there is one different than the other. Most people that I know, including myself, a good life is financial gain. And I live very well financially. I come from a rough place, but I've fought through everything like everyone here in front of me. And I enjoy a good life. I enjoy the finances, the places I live, the motorcycles I ride, the cars, trucks, and all that. That is fun. Without a spiritual side, though, all the money in the world is very empty. And I say that from a point of view as if we look on any shows, news, what have you, and you find people that have all the money in the world, and yet they commit suicide. And that's very puzzling to me why someone would do that. The only answer that I come up with is they were poor spiritually. They had everything they wanted, but they were dead or empty on the inside and no spiritual growth to grow with it. Without that spiritual growth, life is empty. That being said, I personally pour into myself a lot of spirituality. I'm up early. I read the word. I study. I try to live it. I try to speak it. And I grow there as well as financially. That way I can have peace along the way.
Thank you, Bob. Jean and Rahul, you are the likely candidates.
I just want to say that I hope my changes of color were conspicuous enough for Bob to see them.
Very conspicuous.
And it was
Yes,
very
I think we'd all agree they were quite conspicuous.
So
They really couldn't have been much more conspicuous, if I think about it.
I guess our grammarian has a full plate.
Yeah. You guys are conspicuously taking advantage of the situation.
Okay. Jean, would you like to step up and do table topics?
Okay. And
You are the evaluator, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll evaluate, Jean.
Very good, Art. Okay, Jean, I've got 4 or 5.
How about, I think probably your last one was probably a construction made out of desperation. So I'll take 4. Yeah, last
Number
gasp.
4.
I thought I had 4.
Oh, let's see.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I messed up on the numbers. Bob did 4. The one that was available was 3. So that's what you're getting. Because I was definitely less desperate at that point.
Yeah. Bob's was hard. So I'm glad I don't get Bob's.
Here's your question. What circumstances of your life are necessary for you to live the good life? What circumstances of your life are necessary for you to live the good life?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers at home. I think the more relevant observation is that one's conception of what is the good life can change over time. Right now, my conception of the good life would be, it would have a fair amount of tranquility in it. It would have lots of books. You can see in the background, I have all these books that are just waiting for me, classics. I just want to immerse my brain. So the good life includes a lot of reading. It includes a relationship with someone who I am both friendly with and love. So I have that. And it's not Finley, our puppy. But having the puppy is also very, very good. I also think having a deeper connection to myself. I do have some wear on my tread at this point. And gaining insights into myself both now and where it all began and how it developed. There's just more perspective at this point in my life on where I've been. And I think it shines a light on where I'm going. So the self-knowledge, I think, is an important part of the good life. Is increasing self-knowledge and awareness of who I am and my place in the world and the things that I love and the people that I love and what's important to me and what's not important to me. It takes a while to sort out when you're younger. And then as you get older, it starts to become more clear. I think those are the components for me of a good life. Lots of reading opportunities, loving relationships, self-knowledge, growing self-knowledge, and awareness of where I am and where I'm going.
Thank you, Jean. I've got one question and I've got one candidate. Let's put the two together. Rahul Watts, come on down.
Thank you.
Number 5. Do you think that a majority of Americans live the good life? If no, is there another country you think we should look to for guidance? Do you think that a majority of Americans live the good life? If no, is there another country you think we should look to for guidance?
Thank you. I think you chose me on purpose. Good evening, friends, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. I think people do live good life. And the question about do majority of people in America live a good life is a tricky one. I think how we define good life is the key to this question. And we have seen various speakers tonight give a definition. I'll just quickly give 2 points from my life where I felt that I was living a good life, even though I had no money. I was in the year 2006, living in a very rundown hotel in India. And I had only about $100 that I'd sent off to a friend because he needed help and he had no more money. So I'd given it to them and I had no money. I had barely a few cents left. And I was able to eat in 10 cents or less, actually, a decent, one-time meal that kept me surviving for 17 days, before which I asked my father for maybe some more money to, help me survive. But the point of the story, the moral of the story is that I lived a great number of days without money, very happy, knowing the fact that I was able to help a friend who really needed it. And there have been times when I had a lot of money and I'd not been happy. So coming back to the question, I think majority of Americans, depending on where they are, and if they are happy, live a good life. I've been to a lot of places, including visiting jails as part of Toastmaster organization, where I have seen even the people who had done some grim things in their life be able to live a life very happily because they were able to communicate and talk it with a person or with someone they can relate to and they felt comfortable with. So the criteria needs to be defined. I feel that America is a great country. It's a happy country. There are some aspects of things where America can look forward to some of the other less fortunate countries. And if I were to talk about one, India would be one example. There are a lot of people in India who are very, very poor, and they build their happiness and good life around the people that they are with. And I think there are people in America who can benefit from doing that. So with that, again, it's a tricky topic, and it would probably take hours of wisdom from a lot of rishis, maharshis, and sages and God to answer the question. But from my point of view, America is a happy country. If it needs an example, maybe India. With that, back to you, Sir Topics Master.
Thank you, Rahul. That is the end of our set of questions, and it's just about the right time also. So I'm going to ask our timer, Bob, which of our table topic speakers qualified?
Art qualified, Alex qualified, Jean qualified, and I don't know.
Qualified.
And then I qualified.
Okay. Art is the Toastmaster, so send a private chat to him. Vote for Art, Alex, Jean, or Bob. And while we're voting, I'm going to go ahead and ask Jean. Well, maybe I should turn things over to the general evaluator, Mr. Art Atkinson. He can sort it out which evaluator will go next. Thank you.
I'm going to call on Alex to give the evaluation for Rahul's speech.
Thanks, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. So we had a great speech from Rahul today. He did a great job greeting the audience and reintroducing the project. My suggestion would be maybe to share the introduction of the project beforehand, so you can use that time towards your speech and focus more on the beginning of the speech. I think you can use that time, apply that time with more value to the speech. He did a great job introducing the situation and the reasons that made him ask, but why? My suggestion would be to organize the speech.
And while we're voting, I'm going to go ahead and ask Jean. Well, maybe I should turn things over to the general evaluator, Mr. Art Atkinson. He can sort it out which evaluator will go next. Thank you.
I'm going to call on Alex to give the evaluation for Rahul's speech.
Thanks, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. So we had a great speech from Rahul today. He did a great job greeting the audience and reintroducing the project. My suggestion would be maybe to share the introduction of the project beforehand, so you can use that time towards your speech and focus more on the beginning of the speech. I think you can use that time, apply that time with more value to the speech. He did a great job introducing the situation and the reasons that made him ask, but why? My suggestion would be to organize the speech with a hook, an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Maybe change the format a little bit from the format of a conversational speech to a more like organized speech, so it's easier for the audience to follow. Rahul did use a great vocal variety and delivered the speech with great confidence and clarity. My suggestion would be, again, just to position the camera a little bit in a way that we can see your head and the body. So this way we can see your hand gestures, just to be a little more conspicuous. There you go. I really enjoyed, well, I really liked the change of the title, but why? I think it really captures the message that the speech delivers. My only suggestion was from the first, the icebreaker to this one, I noticed that there was a change. You didn't introduce much your organization. You explained about, you know, the situation and the reasons of the but why, but didn't introduce again your company and your organization and the reasons why you're doing that. maybe if you change a little bit the format of the speech, you will be able to save some time to introduce again, you know, to give more, pass more of the information about your company. I think that would be a good thing to try for the next time of the presentation. Overall, you did a great job. I always enjoy your speeches. You always bring very lots of confidence when you talk, and you did a great job. So good job.
Thank you, Alex. I'd like to call upon our table topics evaluator, Jean, for her evaluation.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I had 4 people, and then Art, you're going to do something, I guess. So 4 people, I think I can do that in 2 to 3. We'll push it. So first I started with Art. Art had the question about think ahead 5 years, where are you? What's the picture of the good life? He did address that question specifically. I like that. He also had a very happy and relishing demeanor. You could tell it was a subject he really enjoyed thinking about. So that was enthusiastic. And I really liked his ending. It landed and nailed. I'm already thinking about that 5-year projection, and I'm already there. I'm right now. I'm ready. My suggestion to Art is, what happened to Cyprus? Because wasn't Cyprus going to be in the plan somewhere? That island? What is that island? But anyway, you could tell me later. But that wonderful place that had all the pictures, didn't hear that in there. So we'll have to hear what that's about. Then secondly, Alex had, are you already living the good life? If not, what changes? She basically said, yeah, I'm pretty much a happy camper. I feel like I'm living it. I'm following my dream. I'm here. I've been successful. She added some humor, but she could change it if there was a beach. A beach would be very nice. So it was humor, and it was also a change. I definitely relate to that. The suggestion for Alex is a tendency to do uptalk. The sentences go up at the end, statements go up. So just, it's the same sentence, same content, just make it go down at the end, and you'll sound much more assertive and confident in what you're saying. Bob had the question about the good life material versus a good life spiritual. He did mention that I like Bob's structure. He had it organized. First he says there's a difference, but actually one kind of depends on the other. So he gave personal story, talked about his toys, but he also said that without the spirituality, it doesn't work. And then he gave a personal story about how he combines his spiritual practice with enjoying his materials. So I like that. It was a structure that worked, I think. So that's what I was focused on. I didn't really have a suggestion for Bob. You could have done like a motorcycle thing. I can always throw that in for Bob. Rahul finally had that question, do Americans have a good life? If not, some other country as an example. He did give a contrast between being happy with no money, or having money, and not being happy from his own life. So that was a personal story. So I really related to that. And he gave India as the example. And that example supported what he was saying, which was poor, but happy with relationships, so happy in general. My suggestion to Rahul was, I wasn't sure that he specifically convinced me that Americans are happy. I didn't hear a specific explanation for that. And since that was a main part of the question, I would want to hear that. Like, why does he think Americans are happy? Thank you.
Thank you. Now I think as general evaluator, I need to know from the timer which evaluator is qualified.
Alex and Jean qualified.
Okay. So we should send in votes for best evaluator.
Art, you were also going to do a short evaluation of Jean, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. A dessert, a little.
As general evaluator, I guess I'll get to that.
Okay.
I don't believe the general evaluator usually competes in the best evaluator category.
No,
Not
you're
at
just,
our club.
we consider you just an hors d'oeuvre.
Yes. If I could have the votes sent in between Alex and Jean for best evaluator, label it with evaluation, eval or EV or something so I can distinguish it from the TT vote. Jean, I didn't get a TT vote from you. Table topics vote.
We don't have to vote.
Well, given the time situation that we have, it would be useful.
Well, that really sets me up then too. Huh? All right, we'll do private chat, Art.
Yeah. Okay, so moving right along. Can I have the timers report from Bob Fogel and the grammarian report in whichever order you wish to give them, Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. The timers report is as follows. Rahul, his speech was 7 minutes and 33 seconds. And his table topics was 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Art's table topics was 2 minutes 21. Alex was 1 minute 28. Myself was 1 minute 54. Jean was 2 minutes 27 seconds. And Jean, I must confess, I forgot the yellow card and you still made it. So very good.
For evaluator, you mean? For evaluator?
No, for table
topics. Okay.
Yeah, table topics. I forgot to flash the yellow card. I went from red.
You're trying not to be too conspicuous, I take it.
That was. And then for our evaluators, our evaluators was Alex was 2 minutes 58 seconds. Jean was 3 minutes and 24 seconds. And the word of the day, conspicuous. Jean used it multiple times. I counted 3 times. Dan once, Alex at least once, and someone else mentioned it. I missed it.
Rahul did a bunch. Yeah.
Rahul.
Multiple.
Sorry,
yeah.
Conspicuously absent from the use of conspicuous.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that concludes my report. Back to you, Mr. David.
Thank you, man. Grammarian, you've got a report for us as grammarian?
I failed. I did not follow through with my grammarian report. I was so focused on the word of the day, which I bombed. I couldn't even pronounce it correctly. Oh. So, but I gave the word of the day.
It's hard to be doing something else and being timer. So it really is. And timer is the most important. And you did have a good word of the day. So that's good. It's just, but the rest of the grammarian role is you have to be listening throughout, and sometimes you just can't do it all. So we do the best we can. If anything stands out as a cool phrase or something that someone said, you can say it, but just do the best you can.
Okay.
Anybody else have a grammarian type observation about something tonight? Okay.
I know I said some good things, but I can't remember.
Well, that's a good thing.
Okay.
Good question.
We all have recording to watch, and maybe an assignment for everybody to come up with something at the start of next meeting.
Okay, I'd like to hear from our counter, Dan Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I was busy tonight making little tick marks on the counter sheet. Rahul led the way. He had 2 ahs and more than 10 uhs. He had 1 2 ands, 1 repeat, and more than 10 you knows.
Ooh. No.
Art had 1 which is pretty high count for Art.
Yeah.
Alex had more than 5 ahs, 1 4 ands, 1 repeat, and 2 you knows. Bob had 2 uhs. Jean had 3 ahs, 3 uhs, 1 3 so's, and a repeat, which is practically Armageddon for Jean. That's my report.
I think the word would be apocalyptic.
We'll talk later.
Okay, now for the Joke Master's report. There was a school teacher arrested today at JFK International Airport as he attempted to board a plane while in possession of a ruler, a protractor, a compass, an ancient device called a slide rule, and a coding device called an abacus, which he claimed was a calculator. At the morning press conference, the Attorney General said he believes that this man is a member of the notorious algebra movement. Not identify this man, who's been charged by the FBI with carrying weapons of math instruction. Algebra is a problem for us, the Attorney General said. Algebra has terrorized many young people for years. They derive solutions by means of extremes and sometimes go off on tangents in search of absolute values. They use secret code names like X and Y and refer to themselves as unknowns. But we've determined that they belong to a common denominator of the axis of medieval with coordinates in every country. The end.
That was very good, very clever.
In my role as general evaluator, in my role as evaluator of Jean table topic speech, she answered the question directly, what circumstances are required for living the good life, and made a cogent observation that it can change from one phase of life to the next. Currently for her, the conditions required for a good life are plenty of books, solid relationships with people, solid relationship with pets, self-knowledge, and clarity. I hunted in vain for a suggestion to make from her because she was very crisp in answering the question directly and for fleshing it out in a way that made it easy to understand. As an evaluator, she had a suggestion for everybody, but she had a suggestion for everybody. for me, it was what happened to Rhodes,
Rhodes, that's what it was.
the island of Rhodes. And for Alex, it was the suggestion to end sentences with a down tone in the voice, putting a period on the sentence rather than a question mark. For Bob, it was a compliment to his interesting structure. And for Rahul, it was that he never got around to answering how it is that people in the United States seem to be happy. So she did have an observation in every case and a suggestion in 3 of the 4.
Okay.
Now we come to the meeting awards part of the evening.
Ooh. I don't have them.
Take it from the timer's report that we have a non-qualifying best speaker of the evening over time. Is that correct, Bob? Was Rahul over time? Did I hear?
Yeah,
He was 10 minutes and 33 seconds. Yep.
3 seconds.
3 seconds over.
I know, Bob, you did it. What did I say? You did it? I said I did it. I meant to say I did it.
Yeah.
3 seconds over.
3 seconds over.
So in table topics,
He was 47 seconds over. Or
in table topics, we have a winner, and that winner is Jean is the winner on that one.
Oh, I couldn't even vote for myself. Whoa. That's extra satisfying. Okay. Good, good. Here we go. Yeah, man.
And let's see, the other category would be the evaluator. I have, let's see, votes for evaluator. Alex is the winner in evaluation.
Hey.
Yay.
Hey. Good job.
And I believe that brings us to the end of the formal part of the meeting. I'll hand the gavel back to myself as president and compliment you on the speech, Rahul. And I'm very glad to know that you'll be giving another one. It's already next week that one is scheduled for. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Having a prepared speech makes these meetings sing. How many others of you feel that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're good.
Thanks.
Really good. Do we have a speech scheduled for the week after next?
That's going to be Bob, and I do have an announcement related to that, right, Bob? We'll
Yes.
tell him what. Okay. And then Dan will be the following week.
Very good. We have a string of prepared speeches.
Mm-hmm.
And next week, Donna Stauser will be evaluating you, Rahul.
Right. And Donna emailed, I guess everybody saw it. I think she would look at the video. So Dan, maybe when he does the video, he could just send it to her, send her the link or something, just a reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll also send her the evaluator sheet so she can have that.
Yeah.
And if you can send that to me as well so that I can incorporate those feedback. I know you did it last week, so
Mhm.
So I'm going to adjourn the meeting, and we have arrived at this point slightly early. Whoever would like can stick around and we can chat. Yes, Jean.
Well, since we are a little early, I just want to mention Bob went over with me his first project in level 4, where he is right now, and it's a role-playing project. So we worked it out, and what it is. So his talk is on the 30th. I have to send 4 other members the role play instructions, and you guys will each be assigned a type of. It's a project that has to do with speaking to an audience that disrupts you. It's disruptive, and then there are different types of disruptors. So the roles will each be a type of disruption, but Bob won't know who you are and who's got what role, but you'll just want to do that. So anyway, that's, so that will be coming. So the ball's in my court. I have the role play assignments, and I'll just send out an email to you guys and just say, okay, Alex is this, Rahul is that, we'll just do it that way. So, right, Bob, is that about it?
That's about it.
Yeah.
I hate to be a disruptor though. Like, I've never been a disruptor in any speeches.
No,
Well, you
I just can't do it.
yeah.
Just can't.
Start practicing.
So Bob, you know that I wouldn't be one.
Well, now wait a minute, Rahul, you just chatted to me. I will love to be a disruptor.
I was just trying to keep the surprise element. You announced my name, so I was trying to keep it a surprise.
Yes, because we have more potential disruptees. Anyway, because we have